I want to share my recipe with you for vegan gyoza. So now I've been eating a little bit more, vegetable, more vegan, or vegetarian, I should say. So I take one of my favorite foods, one of my own comfort foods, which is gyoza, Japanese style dumpling. Normally it's done with pork, but we're gonna do it with vegetables. So I'm gonna get started. I'll show you what I have. So my mom, she was a caterer, so traditionally she would make it and would use garlic chives. In Japanese it's called nira. But I'm gonna use a combination of green onions and garlic, which will work. Mushrooms as a base. I got shiitake and white button. Just kind of get that meaty texture. Cabbage, a little bit of carrot, ginger, which is kind of grated down. Tofu as a binder, mirin, soy sauce, sesame oil, salt, a little bit of black pepper, and some potato starch to help bind it up. And then we're gonna wrap it all together. Seems like a lot, but trust me, it's worth it. And you want to get that filling nice and dry. So we're gonna start cooking it up. I'm gonna start the heat and start chopping and cooking to make the filling. So we're gonna use the pan, heat it up, start with the mushrooms. I'm gonna kind of, you could use a food processor, but I'm gonna use my old school food processor, which are my hands. Do a nice dice here. And then we're going to do a bunch of those because they're gonna cook out, and we do want the water to cook out too, because if it's too wet, it's gonna make the wrapper soggy and you're not gonna be able to wrap it up because it's gonna fall right through. So that's the first thing that we're gonna need to do. And then I'm gonna take a little bit, get those cut up, and then we're gonna go on to the next step. I diced up the mushrooms uniformly. It's about 3 cups right there, so nice and uniform. Because we're gonna cook everything up, so you wanna make sure, think about it as filling. You don't want it all whacked out looking, so I'm gonna make it nice and uniform. Carrots too. Uniform, but I'm gonna go a little bit smaller, and you don't need a whole lot of this. I think it adds a little texture and sweetness. We're gonna kind of go with this. So gyoza, traditionally, you find them at ramen houses, and generally get a big plate full, and it's done by a combination cooking of pan frying on the bottom, then you add water to steam it, and then you cover it, which obviously we'll go through and over. But I do love them. Like I said, actually all the traditional versions are all with pork, but since times are changing and I'm becoming more health conscious as I get older, I want to make sure that we have healthy but flavorful, tasty food. So that's kind of what we're working on here, and just showing a little bit traditional, but also trying to, play around with stuff that you have. So there's a carrot. That's about all you need for this recipe. And then we're gonna go into cabbage, and same thing. We're gonna go into like a dice, and gonna make it like that, and we're gonna saute that all together, and then mix everything else together. So I'm probably gonna do maybe about a cup or so of this. So I'm gonna go through that. Okay, so now we're gonna start cooking. I got my pan on, a little bit of high heat oil, probably about a little bit over a tablespoon. Get that in there. And then we're gonna start with the mushrooms. And then we're gonna cook that together. Put that in there just like that. A little bit of salt. And that'll start exuding some of the liquid, because we're gonna make it bind together. We want to cook that liquid out so it's not too wet. I'll put a little bit of pepper in there as well. Fresh ground. And then I'm going to add the cabbage, about a cup's worth, and the carrots. And we're gonna saute that all up together and really make this thing taste wonderful. And then we're gonna do some other aromatic stuff to it as well. We're gonna get that going here. A little more salt, add that in. And then I'm gonna do garlic. So I'm gonna take a clove, I'm gonna do some of it in there cooked-wise, and do a little bit of raw, kind of mimic that garlic chive flavor. So we'll do a little bit of that. You can use a microplane if you want. I'm just gonna use hand chop, just like that. Get it a little bit finer. I'm gonna add that to that mixture. But yeah, you want a little bit of that raw flavor to it, I think. Well, it's gonna cook out anyway, but I want also a little bit of that roasted garlic flavor to this as well. So I'm gonna multi-purpose that. Okay, so I have a little bit of garlic in there. It's starting to cook down a little bit. It needs to go a little longer. Then I'm also gonna add a little ginger. I've got a little bit of ginger juice from something else that I had. You can use grated ginger. I just have some of that. Cook that down. It's smelling nice. It's getting there, but it's still not there yet. It needs to kind of get a little more together. Then I'm going to add a little bit of soy sauce to this too. Start seasoning the vegetables and let that cook a little bit more. And then I'm also gonna add tofu. So I have a little bit of this. I have soft, and then I just drained that out a little bit, but I'm gonna use that as binder as well. So pretty much It's gonna make a decent amount of filling, but we're gonna cook that out too because the water is gonna come out of there, and that's what we need to do, so it's gonna dry itself out. So that's the next step. I'm gonna mix that around and break that up as it's cooking down. So I like the soft because it's got that nice silky texture to it, and it kind of adds like a little bit of a filler, where the mushrooms give it that meatier texture. So, I mean, but if you have firm, go ahead and use it, and then you're gonna have to crush it down. So any kind of firmness will do. This is just my preference. So we're gonna do that like that, and let that cook out a little bit longer. See, there's still a little bit too much liquid, so I wanted it to drain. I'm cooking for about 2, almost 3 minutes. There's still some liquid, but then I've tasted it. It's got some seasoning in it. It's got a little bit of salt and the soy sauce you want. I just wanted to make sure that it's got some of the flavor. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of mirin, sweet rice wine, just for some sweetness. So probably just like a teaspoon or so. And then swirl that around, get that going in there. And then I'm going to let that cook for a second, then add a little bit of sesame oil. Less than that, so maybe about half a teaspoon or so. Just get that nice little flavor. Maybe, yeah, that's about right. Just like that. And see it's cooking and starting to get that liquid going. It's almost going there, but then I'm also gonna starch it. You'll see that in a second. So now I'm going to cut up some green onion. So I want to kind of, I'm not gonna cook it out so much, but I just wanna have it ready as it's cooking. So, you know, cooking is timing, as I was kind of saying earlier. You wanna be able to, you know, have something going at the same time while you're prepping it up so you can work it together so you're not wasting any time. Just a little bit about timing. So we're gonna put about that much in there. Mostly green, I don't have as much, so I'm gonna put that in there, just like that. Got a little bit of white there as well. Move these. So now I'm gonna add this and that other half clove of that garlic, which is mostly raw. I'm gonna do that. And then now, gotta add a little more soy sauce, just a little bit more because I kind of tasted it. It needs a little bit of that. And then we're gonna add a little bit of potato starch. Let's see how much here. Just about a tablespoon. And then it's gonna bind that all nicely, which keeps it nice and vegan, but now it's gonna cook that out, and we're gonna make sure that comes together just like that. And then you'll see how much that starch kind of will put it together. And then we're gonna have to cool this mixture. And then we'll be able to put it inside the wrappers. All right, so now the filling is cool. We're gonna wrap these up. Gyoza wrappers, so if you're doing a lot and you having them out, one thing you can do is have a wet paper towel or a damp paper towel and then have it so it doesn't dry out. So then we're gonna do the first one. So I have a little bit of starch down here too. That's what you want on the bottom, not flour. Some people say that just do starch. Like this. I'm not great at folding it, but I'm gonna do my best. This one's a little damp from the paper towel anyway, so you just want water. So this is what we're gonna dip our finger in. So the first one, kind of put that much filling. You know, you don't wanna overfill it because they will, you know, break open. Not break open, but you know, I think you just want enough filling just to kind of get that nice flavor in there. So wrap it over on one hand, and then you're gonna pleat it. So if you have too much to it, it's hard to pleat. So we're gonna go this way, this way, this way, and that way. And then make sure it's pressed closed nicely, and then flatten down. That's it. So one more time, and I'll get one that's a little drier. Drier once I can do it with the water. So peel there, okay. Water on the rim first, one side's fine, that's it. A little bit of the filling, just like that. So it makes, you know, makes a difference because you don't want, like I said, the vegetables too big and chunky. You want there so nice mouth texture, but also too, it's gonna be hard to fold up if it's like all huge. So with one hand, see, like I said, I'm there, one pleat, another pleat, so one-handed like that, just kind of like that. All right, and put it down like there. All right, and then we'll just keep going and keep going and keep going. So, you know, as you're doing this too, if you have a whole sheet tray and you're lined up like that, same thing, damp towel over it while you're working out there, just because it will dry out, and that'll, if it skins out, meaning if it gets too dry, when you eat it, it's gonna get like really chewy and hard to break through, so that's not what you want. So there you go, and then I'll keep doing these and we'll show you how to cook. Folding, I'm gonna show you the best as I can. So the idea is to put it kind of where right here so you can use your, you know, like this, you know, to pinch it. So a little bit of water just on one side, that's fine. Enough filling, kind of like that, okay? And then you're using your thumb. And it's also good to have like a kind of a towel on the side so you can wipe your fingers off. So that's good, like a damp cloth. So basically, what you're trying to do is with this hand, one hand there, while you're moving it, pinch it this way, that way. And then with the other hand, just finish the creasing, there you go. And then make sure a little bit like this. And then now we're gonna go to the cooking. So we'll get into the pan and we're gonna put this one, because I'm gonna make a small batch. See, there's enough filling to do quite a bit. That'll probably take, there's 20 wrappers in this one, or 25. And should be enough to do that. So I'm gonna get this pan heated up and then I'll show you how to do it, steam it and all that good stuff. Okay, so I've got my non-stick pan. I like non-stick because it doesn't help stick, because sometimes if it gets too wet, it'll stick on and then you'll break them all apart. So high heat oil, just enough to coat the bottom, because you wanna make sure that it fries properly. So get that oil hot. Hot pan always first. And then we're gonna line these up. So just like that. I think I have enough to get this going in a circular pattern. Because what you can do is sometimes when you get at the ramen places, they put it all tight in a pan, then you flip it over and it goes like that. I don't have quite enough right here, but we'll get something looking like that. I'll try it. I'll get it like going a little bit tighter this way. How about that? Okay, so then just make sure some of the oil goes underneath, and we're going to let that cook a little bit so it browns on the bottom. And that water on the sides, so have that ready. And a lid. Like if you don't have a traditional lid, you can use a plate. So just, use your imagination, but and it'll go right down and we'll make it happen. But so basically what you're doing is brine the bottom, and then these skins will steam on the top, and then you'll have some delicious, and you can kind of check on, it's pretty brown. So I'll make sure it's nice and brown. I'm rotating it, go even. Okay, that's on high heat. All right, so then here's where we do this. A little bit like that. So then we're gonna let that, I'm gonna put the heat down a little bit lower, and then wait till you'll hear it, when all the water starts to evaporate, like it's still sizzling, it'll stop, and then you'll see how the tops cook up, and it'll cook up the inside too, so it'll generate enough steam to steam the top. Okay, so it's starting to fume a little bit, and then watch, see? Really nice steam on top, there you go. And that'll be nice to go. And then I'm gonna get another plate, and I'm gonna show you how to plate it, so you gotta be careful on this step. We're gonna shut this off. You can see it's nice and soft there. I'm still cooking the bottom. The bottom's really nice, you'll see. Trust me, trust me. Now my first rodeo here. Let me get a plate, I gotta work on it. And then I'm gonna flip these over. So we'll do this one. Shut this off. Just put like this. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Voila. And then all stick together like I said. That's what you want. Nice little crispy bottom. And then I've got a little dipping sauce here. So this is soy sauce, a little bit of vinegar, chili. I used sambal, I didn't have chili oil, and a little bit of sesame oil. And then you can dip them, or I'm just gonna plate it on there. And they're gonna be ripping hot, but I'm just using my fingers. There we go. Delicious.